Okay, I think we'll make a start. So welcome everybody. Maybe some late joiners, so I'll admit those as they hook in. So yeah, thanks for joining. This is a first of 6 webinars over the next 6 Fridays. So every Friday at 11 a.m. Today is about the virtual office or home working. We expect this to be, or hope this to be, an interactive session today. So whilst all of us are on mute, you can ask a question, make a comment, or share a view or opinion. Raise a hand. So if you hover down towards the bottom of your screen, you'll get a taskbar up where you can raise a hand, ask a question in the chat window. I'll perhaps start the chat window off as we kick off. And of course, we'll have time at the end to ask questions, etc. So the other webinars, just so you know, they're more sort of how-tos, tips, best practice. And in fact, the next 3 Fridays from now are on Microsoft Teams, where we'll kind of build up Teams as that single business tool for communications, collaboration, and integration, including using Teams as a full telephone system. So I'll hand over to Graham Fern now, who's going to take us through today's webinar, which is on the virtual office. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. Thank you, Rob. Nice to see some familiar faces and names popping up. Neil, I see you there. I haven't seen for a while. It's good to see you. Okay, so look, a few things. You are on mute at the moment, as Rob said. That's for obvious reasons. Otherwise, we'll probably just end up hearing the dog barking or plates clanging around in the kitchen or whatever it be. So that's just sensible. If you need to, as Rob said, there is an icon to raise a hand. He will answer any instant messages that you send during this chat and try and answer them. Otherwise, we'll collate them for the end. And at the end, please come off mute. If you have any questions, I will offer that up to people. This session is being recorded. It will end up on YouTube under our Axon channel, either for reference. So just be aware that will be the case. Okay. So if you're at all kind of privacy concerned, the best thing at this point here is to drop off, I'm afraid. Okay, so without further ado, as they say, I'm going to run through using obviously my slides, and I apologize as my head moves left and right. I've got many screens in front of me, so I'm not wishing to kind of look rude. So we've done the welcome, we've kind of done the introduction, so you know who we are. Let's just talk about what I'm going to talk about, and we'll talk about the current situation. We all know what it is, but I'm going to go through it. We'll talk about economic assessment within a business, then the considerations, the bits that probably where my skill sets come through. We'll then throw that into a thought experiment and how that might play out for any individual business. And then there'll be options, and to be perfectly honest, those options aren't something I can lay out. They'll be something that you will lay out as either senior managers, business owners, whatever. And then, of course, as I said, there are questions. I will try and make this as interactive as possible. But ultimately, this is pretty much a slide-driven discussion around how you might work. So I kind of make that apology early, but I will try and keep it as interactive as possible. I will also say at this point, some of the things I will have to say are probably opinion-based. So please take some of the things with a pinch of salt, because you as business owners, managers will have your own ideas, thoughts, and the way your business wants to work. So everything is food for thought. Okay, so the current situation, we all know where we're at. I don't need to go through that. It's been said many times by many people. But what it has done is caused change in lots and lots of areas. And of course, the focus we're looking at here is in terms of running a business. And I'm sure everybody on this call has seen a change, some to a lesser, some to a greater degree. Some have had big impacts, some perhaps less so. Some have been fortunate to be busy because of the situation, some very quiet. So there's a whole blend of what this has caused to each one of us. But it would be fair to say that what it has done from a technological perspective is forced change. And if I put this and use someone far grander than myself to use a quote, and this is from the boss of Microsoft, they've seen 2 years worth of digital transformation in inside 2 months. Okay, so let me put that into some numbers. As the impact of the coronavirus hit, they ended up seeing over 200 million Microsoft Teams meetings in a single day. Okay, they're now generating over 4.1 billion meeting minutes. Okay, and there are now 75 million active Microsoft Team users. If we were to draw their graph on this, it just literally goes up. Ironically, all the businesses actually already had this product, but this forced them to make a change. So this word of digital transformation, it's a very tired phrase used by people like me. But what's actually happened is it's forced businesses to adapt and change because of the situation they were faced with and utilize what they'd got. So now that has opened up possibilities, and that is what we're really here to talk about. And I will call that the virtual office. If we want to simplify it and keep it simple, then we could just say we're talking about being able to work from home. But I want to enlarge on that because working from home isn't a new concept. It's now more a concept is how might a business actually operate? Okay, and that's the point I'm going to really kind of drive forward and see what you want to take away from this. So what are our considerations then? What do we need to think about? Some of these are perhaps blindingly obvious, okay? And some of these are debatable, I'm not going to deny, okay? So let's just talk about these now. We're going to talk about an assessment for the virtual office. Well, firstly, there's the business assessment. You know, is the business right? We've then got to look at the kind of finances, the economic side of things. And this one's probably the most contentious one in a sense, is employee assessment. Okay, now that could be based upon your business type and your culture and your staff and their suitability. I can't cast any aspersions onto the staff that you have and their suitability to work from home. Effectively, you could say unsupervised, but clearly that's a massive part. But it does not detract from the other points that I'm going to talk above and also in a moment talk below on a whole bunch of workplace assessments. And when I say workplace now, I'm talking about that workplace is at home. Okay, but it's fair to say that if you don't meet the requirements at the top, it's kind of rather getting fruitless towards the bottom. So let's just talk about these now in individuality. So business assessment, are you the right business? Okay, and technology could be a part enabler. Does your business allow for this? Now, I have spoken to lots of businesses over the past few months, and I can tell you some of the businesses I've spoke to who traditionally you would have seen has been slow at embracing technology, have actually amazingly adopted very quickly and changed. I spoke to an IT manager the other day of a aggregates-based company who are not known to be at the forefront of technology, and already that IT manager's office has been repurposed and is no longer that person's office. They have already had their permanent place of work changed to home, okay, in a short space of time. So he left when lockdown occurred and basically he's not going back. And I say that's for an industry that doesn't really change quickly. And I could repeat those kind of logics over and over again. I also say, do you have the appetite for change? Okay, is your business not only right, but do you want to have that change? So let me put this also into another context. We all know every business has information. We'll call it data, and that information, be it contained in email, in electronic systems. I appreciate some businesses might be paper-based. Okay, so that obviously causes other issues. They're not insurmountable. We all know that paperless is possible, but still, that's your assessment. But if I take that most businesses today are using technology, and pretty much most of the people I see in this call and I know are using basically public cloud services, it's the likes of Microsoft 365, Dropbox, whatever they be, okay? So you're already using good products. But we've got to bring this information into a place that staff can easily access it. So if I'm going to try and allude to how that might look, Okay, just to give you a flavor from that perspective. And I here just have a few pages. Okay, and what I'm saying here is I am using this single pane of glass, is another tired phrase we like to use in technology, but a single screen that I can bring all the information required for staff together. Now, I know that includes things like Teams, but what about stuff that doesn't fit into that? So I basically have mocked this up this morning. I've embedded our internal video libraries, okay, in here, which are for staff education, training. Okay, I can punch that out full screen. You know, you can see it's all there. Oh, product launch countdown timer. Oh, and I've even got a company BI analysis in here, you know, where I can query data in live time. Okay, so these are all, I mean, this is a fictitious data set here, but it gives you an idea. So what I'm doing, some companies have these screens around their office with information displayed. Maybe it's call stats, maybe it's how the sales team are performing. Well, rather than have those screens around the office, present the screens in this manner here. So, and again, let me show you something real now. This is our service desk. You know, when you phone us up, these are all our real stats. Phones, we can see there's a slight increase. We can see people are going back to work here because you're all now creating more cases with us. So we can see this trend, which means that we can start taking decisions, let's say around, and I'm making an example of being an intelligent business here, taking people back off furlough. I can see the answer time is around 11 seconds. I can even get the average satisfaction score. These are real, I'm not making these up, okay? So I'm bringing all my information into a single place, okay? Making it useful, bringing information together. So again, more information all in one place, bringing me in one place. And then I can help people along the way, okay? Here's my profile, this is all real, this is us working, okay? All my contact details, okay? Stuff I'm working on. Well, funnily enough, it was this PowerPoint, okay? It's the latest one, 10:38, I was last looking at that, funnily enough. Everything is in here. They can contact me. They can see who I work with, what I'm doing. And look, ladies and gents, this isn't some flight of fancy. You all own this software. It's just about getting it together. Okay, so we push that together. You know, I can give you lots of examples. I've just got one place I can go and get everything in one go. And let me now at this point here just bring good old Microsoft Teams into the equation. When I say about bringing information together, we're all familiar with the product, I appreciate. But I'm not going to look at Teams from that sense. I'm looking at this as bringing your information into one place. So here I have our working schedule for our service desk, okay, built into Teams. I've got basically all of my tasks within our business, the stuff I've got to do, the stuff that other people have got to do, quite clear to me. What I've not done, what's in progress, what I've done, okay? What happens if I've got a big business, okay? I don't know, who knows about security? There you go, it's 10 people in our business that know about security, okay? And there's one of them. I've got his details. So if imagine I had a big company, I don't know who's who. This is using just machine learning that knows everyone inside your business. It's not a human being. Okay, just gives you an idea. All my video libraries, stuff that I might find useful and interesting. And I'm bringing everything into one place. Okay, I could even query my CRM system from here. You know, we can see here, I don't know, I'm going to search Axon. Okay, there's one account, funnily enough. Okay, and I can just get information. It's all inbuilt into Teams. Pretty good. Just an example, please, ladies and gents, of the ability of bringing information together. Okay, that is only what I'm showing you here. I'm not trying to show you what Teams does. It's the process within your business about bringing it together. Okay, so that business assessment is far-reaching. Have you got the right systems? Are you the right business? Do you have the right staff, etc.? Okay, so quite a big subject matter there, and is very much within a business to decide. Okay, the economic assessment then. Okay, we'll talk perhaps a little bit further about this, but if I be clear, you know, I know our running cost approximately for our office sits at around 100 grand per annum. Now that's got lots of additional costs in there, be it from office cleaning, from landlines to connectivity, to the air conditioning costs, to rates, repairs, you name it. Okay, so it makes up quite a number, but look, ultimately you know what it costs, and I'm not a finance person, and I've always been told by people in finance they can make numbers whatever they want to look like. So there is a number. You should perform an assessment of what things are costing you and what cost savings you can make. It doesn't take anyone a difficult exercise to find out the running costs, work out the number of staff, divide one into the other, work out what a per seat cost is costing you, and see where the benefits lie. I'm not going to go into that in any greater detail than that at the moment, okay, because I will talk about it later. Okay, employee suitability, I've already discussed this. You have to have the right people. I appreciate that. Even I can identify in the past staff we've had, they just can't work from home, okay, by their own admission sometimes, but that needs to be considered, and you will know your staff best, and it's very business specific. Ultimately, if I've got people welding components onto a circuit board, it's probably unlikely they're going to be able to work from home. If I've got a finance manager, almost certain they could work from home. So let's go into this whole discussion, okay, of working from home. Okay, top right is probably what my boss thinks I'm doing at home, and doing little or no work and pretending to. Perhaps bottom left is what my vision of what working from home looks like. Bottom right is the stock photo that tells me that's what it should like, and top left is the reality of what working from home looks like. Okay, but actually top left, the reality is that's extraordinarily accurate, in the fact that that lady there has all the equipment I would say someone would need. She has the right chair, the right desk, everything is in place. All the rest, rubbish. Okay, and this is what we'll talk about now. So you've got to have the right equipment. It's pretty obvious. Now the reality is you already pay for most of this equipment. It already exists. You either pay for it to be in an office, so you're really not, it's only transferring effectively the equipment. It's not an additional cost. It is just a business cost. There can be additional costs, do not get me wrong. But obviously laptops, I mean, desktops, taking them home, not really. The difference performance-wise and cost-wise is minimal between the two. In fact, most of what goes in a desktop is actually the same circuit boards that go in a laptop these days, obviously cost of manufacture. So there's very little difference between them. Screens, I say that in plural. If anyone wants to be productive and you are what I will call an information worker, that's someone that spends the best part of 6 hours a day sat in front of a machine, you need more than one screen. You need a stand, you need a chair, you need a docking solution, you need a camera, otherwise you can't have proper video conferences. You need a headset like I'm wearing. I'll talk about the drawing tablet, that's just an optional nice to. Now the reality is this assessment can be done remotely of someone's workspace. It could be done formally on site. Now that formally can be done by common sense alone and checking that the workspace environment is suitable for that person to work from. Okay, because perhaps if they're working from their dining room table and the dog is running around and the kids are screaming in the background, that isn't perhaps the best working environment. If they've got a room where it can be quiet, they can get themselves effectively locked away, that probably would be more conducive to working from home. So there has to be that assessment. It can be done medically. Okay, there are occupational health companies that will perform a proper workplace assessment for a member of staff, as they can do in an office environment. But nevertheless, there has to be some sort of assessment of that place. And I think you'll agree most of those things on there you probably already possess. Okay, here's some examples. And the left-hand side, that's actually what I'm sat in front of right now. That is my workplace. I'm sat talking to you right this moment, and it is exactly that. So I've got my laptop directly in front of me sitting at kind of eye height, I have a very large screen to my left, which is the one I keep looking at, and I have a screen that's in a a portrait view, so I can read documents nice and easily. To be perfectly honest, I already had the laptop, I use that all the time, so the only cost it's cost me here or the business is effectively 2 screens, or one of those screens already existed, so there was an extra screen required to do that, and a mount, and that was it. But it gives you an idea. So those thoughts and ideas can expand. And I talked about the drawing tablet. When you come back and we talk about the collaborate, communicate, and integrate, when I go through Microsoft Teams, that drawing tablet actually becomes a reality. And I'm sorry, I'm looking down at my screen because I'm just going to set something up just to show you. Hopefully this works, and it looks like it is. Okay, so right in the middle of the screen, that's actually my iPad, and it's something called Microsoft Whiteboard. It's built into Microsoft Teams, and it allows me to basically use a pen and be able to collaborate with multiple people. This could be multiple people, okay, who can join in at the same time, and I can draw diagrams and so forth. I can chuck pictures in here. I can build tables and so forth. Again, I'm not here to teach you how to use a product. I'm just here to elaborate the fact that actually working from home and effectively having whiteboards or flip charts can be done all electronically. Okay, it's not a problem at all. It should. See if I can do it. Yeah, it even draws circles for me if I can't do them. And I think if I do this, there you go, I can even build tables. Okay. So it's pretty slick. I'll just quit that there. Gives you an idea. And that was the whole reason to talk about the drawing tablet, to extend the power of what you can do. The middle item is probably very debatable. That's just a kind of you can see the size of it. It is basically a small conferencing facility. It could be put in someone's home if they didn't have the right laptop and equipment. It's just got the built-in speaker, camera, microphone. So if you don't like wearing a headset, just thoughts and ideas. Okay, so we've got the right hardware, all being well. We've got the right people. We've got the right working environment. Right, well, we all know we need software on the hardware in order to work. And most people here are used to and aware of the reality of the fact that they've got Office 365. Let me be clear, though, at this point, and I'm no salesperson. If anyone's going to consider the reality of a virtual office or people consistently working from home, there is only one product, and it is a product called Microsoft 365, not Office 365 E3. Okay, it's the go-to option. To be perfectly frank and honest, it's the one everyone should have. I think it's like, at worst case, it's about anywhere between £1 to £1.25 per day. I drink 4 coffee pods from my Nespresso. That actually works out more expensive than it would to run my business for an employee at home for the software. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But what I will say, that right software will then allow a business owner, a business, to have the control, to have the accountability, the auditability, the security, everything in place, and to be looked after. Product called mobile device management is a key phrase frequently used. Again, I'm not going into it. All I'm going to say is you have to have the right software. So the slide that hopefully everyone can see now is this fact that if I've got staff at home, I need to basically, to satisfy the fact you want to have the accountability and auditability. Now, from my perspective, yes, I know that any business owner wants that, but I also want to protect the user, because typically when someone's in an office, they're protected by perhaps some expensive firewall. Well, now they're all at home on God knows what. So what this does is actually puts the protection on the machine. And what you're seeing here actually in the background is actually real information. It's just a screenshot, I grant you. And it is our system running, okay? And it is providing me the ability to, which I perhaps look at once in a period, a week or so, because it actually will alert me to anything that it doesn't like. But the important thing from a business owner's perspective, if someone has a kind of concern to an employee's productivity, it would be able to actually provide an audit trail. So I can, for example, tell you what time people effectively signed in and started doing work this morning. Now that sounds very big brother, but when everyone's in an office, you know that they've started work. When they're not in the office, how are you going to know that? So this here provides that, but its primary purpose is to protect you from nasty stuff, because there's a lot of nasty stuff. Okay, but that's about having the right software. Okay, without any doubt. Okay, next slide. Connectivity is king. Everyone's at home. They need connectivity, and to be perfectly blunt, let's be simple here. In my assessment, if I've got someone who's in the back of beyond, has the world's most appalling broadband connection at 2 megabits per second, the idea of them working from home is probably a non-starter. Let's just accept that. Whereas I can have someone in a urban area, well, it could be just Macclesfield. The connectivity in Macclesfield is fantastic, be it through Virgin Media or like. We've got some of our staff on Virgin connections with 200 megabits per second. Well, that's faster than some offices inside. Okay, so there is a whole variance, but it's obviously an important aspect and would be part of any assessment, and that is your broadband connectivity. Clearly, a business could opt to put their own broadband in, but I would suspect anyone that's going to pay for someone's broadband will be because they're a key worker that's working from home, as opposed to using what they've already got in place. Again, that's a business decision, but obviously it's a very vital part of it. But the bit that the two are not the same is people's wireless in their home. Most people use wireless and don't tend to put a hard cabled piece of copper wire into their laptop and plug it into the back of their router supplied by whoever. And unfortunately, most people's wireless is atrocious. Why is it atrocious? Well, let's be honest here. We get this little black box supplied by Sky, BT, I don't care whoever your provider is, and it's plugged into a socket on the wall, and it gives you the connectivity to the internet at whatever speed that is. Please bear in mind that little black box was built by the lowest bidder. Okay, no such thing as a free dinner. It is just a fact. So it's not a very good piece of equipment. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. It's just not very good, despite the adverts you see on telly. They are all just rebranded, cheaper versions of known manufacturers. So then we put our laptop in there somewhere, which is somewhere else in the house, perhaps upstairs when the actual router supplied by your provider is downstairs. And then what do we put in the way? We put ceilings and walls in the way. Okay, and these signals don't travel well, particularly if you are in an older house with solid brick walls rather than kind of my house that's plasterboard walls I could probably run through. So in a way, I'm better than most. But good old-fashioned houses with solid brick interior walls, then Wi-Fi just goes nowhere. Windows are a problem. Doors are a problem. I've got fire doors. All of my main doors are actually thick of rated fire doors. Guess what? Don't go through doors, not when they're fire doors. So there's all sorts of issues that make Wi-Fi awful in people's houses. How do you get around it and make sure it's good? Well, either get a long cable, plug it into that router, or little icon by the laptop there, you put things called access points in the house. To put that into perspective, I work from home a lot. I have 3 of those devices around my house. No one moans in our house. And right now, my wife is currently downstairs because I'm in the office. She's usually sat 3 feet away from me, but we didn't want to hear her talking. She's on a conference call. She's downstairs on her iPad doing a Teams conference call. Okay. My son is back for the weekend. He's no doubt on the Xbox at the moment. So I've got 3 people working. Well, 1 playing, 2 people working, and it's all fine. Okay. But I have very average connectivity. By no measure is it fantastic. Okay, so when I've got that great connectivity or well set up connectivity and Wi-Fi, I then need to be able to communicate. Okay, Rob did say at the beginning, that I will be covering Teams communication. We know that it works because we're doing it right now. Communicate, collaborate, and integrate. I will cover those as separate subjects. But my Teams system is also my phone, my full phone. So wherever I go, whether it's on my mobile phone, my iPad, or this laptop I have in front of me, I have my direct dial number with me at all times. So it doesn't matter where I sit in the house. I can make calls, answer calls. I can phone someone in Australia. It doesn't matter. And of course, I can have conference calls like this. So again, the right software makes that possible. Okay. Again, I will go into that. We all know there's a lot of VoIP, it's called voice over IP systems out there, but they've got to be the right ones that give you that flexibility so people can sit at home. Okay, obviously having it as a soft phone, as in Teams, it's not a physical phone, is a bonus because then there's no extra hardware to buy. You're just using what you've already paid for. You've got your headset, you've now got a telephone system, and it's also on your phone as well. My wife is effectively doing that downstairs right now with a pair of headphones connected over Bluetooth to her iPad. So it is very easy and flexible. Okay, so we've got to also now basically support everyone because they're now at home. We've got to monitor, as I said, protect and be able to report. Okay, and clearly that sits partly now at the Axon side to be able to provide that to a business, to support the users and to do all of those. So we've got to be able to report things back to a business. We've got to support the users because they're now in many offices. They're not in one office, they're all over the show. Okay, so we've got to have that right software. We've got to have done the assessment, but none of that is difficult. We then provide that security and basically protect that employee without them realizing that it's all going on, but they have everything they need in order to work from home. Yes, we have an answer to it. Yes, we have a solution. Of course we do. I've been working from home for ages. You know, this is not new to us. And in fact, most of the staff at Axon, our offices have been closed, obviously, since lockdown. We are not opening our offices probably till the end of the year. And even then, we don't know if we'll ever reopen them. Okay, so we have been doing this for a while and we understand how it happens. Okay, so I want you to have this thought experiment. I want you to take this away, please. I want you to think of the economics of your business. And I appreciate not everyone is just going to close all their offices and run off home. But could your office space reduce? We have had one customer already completely close their office. It's gone. They've cancelled their lease. They've gone. And they are now fully working from home and never going back to an office. Somewhere in there might be something that works for you. Because obviously your office space is actually quite expensive and you obviously have to offset it. So think of the finances, think of your staff. You arguably have the right hardware, though you might need a little bit here and there. You probably have almost the right software and you probably almost have the right support. So you're not a million miles away here. Okay. Now, if you play the game in this thought experiment, which I want you to just do in your own time, is if let's say hypothetically, everyone, let's take the wild approach and everyone, you don't even have an office, you've lost that cost. What will it cost to put someone in their home to work? My finances, my economics, and I'm not a financial person, at the moment I can only see considerable cost saving. But let's not just go about that. It's actually more important to me than just that cost saving. Okay, and I will explain that. But what it does bring to me is this idea of being able to include effectively my virtual office as an item I can turn on or off. Our lease agreement was 5 years. We were therefore committed to £500,000. We couldn't turn that on or off. It is what it is. We committed to it. Thankfully, we're actually getting very close to the end of it. Now, if we choose to work from home, and what happens if this virus hits again and we have, and I don't know, there's layoffs, I can turn that tap off. If the staff number count drops, I'm not left with the office space sitting there empty or part empty. So it's a thought experiment that I want people to consider. Does it give you benefit? And of course, there are a lot of business decisions that are way, way, way above what, my kind of pay grade. They're your business, but I want you to just at least think you have the technology. There's the technology within the infrastructure of the UK. You have almost the right software. Everything is pretty good in order to consider this. So maybe it's time for change. Maybe you don't want to do this. Okay, but that's the thought experiment. Consider your costs, consider what you can do. But there's kind of good news to this. Because as I've said quite a few times now, you actually have quite a lot of this already in place. Software, you've already got pretty much most of the people I know on this call have already got cloud-based software. You already have some support. You've got the people. Hopefully you've got the right culture and you've got equipment. as I said, maybe you've only got 75%, maybe you've got 85%, maybe you've got 95% of all of this, but it's not a reach that's a long way away. What does this open for you? These are our opinions, my opinions. I think it opens up the ability of increased talent recruitment, because now it doesn't matter where the talent comes from. I'll give you an example. One of the guys that works in our business has a lot to do with the British Snow Sports Association. Some of you will know who I'm probably talking about, but they've just employed a web developer who's based in France in a ski resort, looking after a British company. How good is that? Yeah, the person is actually interested in the product, but it doesn't matter. So they've been able to get talent completely out of the country. Is there a cost benefit to this? I believe so, but I'll leave that to you to judge. I can only see cost benefits. Now let's talk about the employee. Now this won't apply to everyone, but I think for some it would. Don't have to travel, don't have to commute. Okay, my commute is literally walking across the landing. Okay, in a daft sense, I can get up later, and when I finish work, I only have to walk downstairs and I can start getting my food ready for tea. Okay, so I'm happy, it's great. I'm not spending petrol money, so I'm wealthier. I also am now not traveling, as I've said, so you're actually doing a little bit for the environment. So everything's a double whammy. And personally, I think the efficiency is good. I work considerably more efficiently at home, but am I the right person to have with the right culture? Those are all those debatable, but I believe so. My belief could be up to you as to how you see that. So it opens up this possibility, if you embrace this kind of approach, of the kind of turn the tap on or off. Maybe it also allows you to afford things that today, and I'll put my hand up, so this stands for Axon, stuff we couldn't afford to do because we had other overheads. Maybe that's team building exercises. Maybe it's getting everyone together and going quad biking. I don't know, because I don't have the office cost. And when we say about, well, people will quite rightly say, and it's a perfectly legitimate thing to say, we've got to be sociable. We're social animals. We need to come together. Of course we do. So, okay, let's have meetings. Well, in the centre of Manchester, you can rent the most expensive office space at Regis is, I think, £62.50 an hour for their meeting room with all the connectivity, etc. Well, you can do the maths on that. You know, I could spend £1,000 a month and have meetings every week, every fortnight, whatever you want. Wouldn't be difficult. Choose a geographic location that's common or best for everyone, or have different meetings in different areas. It just opens up these thought processes. So maybe we need to think about things differently. Maybe. Okay. Consider your business, take that thought experiment. You have the options, you have the ability. Do you want to do it? Is it right for your business? When you've done that, you're going to take those options, whatever those options are. Do you go mad and you don't have an office at all? Do you sit somewhere in the middle and some work from home, some are in an office? Maybe you've got production environment where you need people to be in that environment and they need to come to work. Do the office staff need to be? All the options that one would consider as a business manager owner, and then you're going to make a decision. All I can say is that technologically speaking, we can help you do it. We do it anyway. In fact, again, a real example, I'd just like to be honest. My wife yesterday had an important meeting with a client, and that client was South Wales, and they had the meeting all on Teams, group of them, did it all. And after the call, I caught her talking to her boss saying, you know what, it would have taken us maybe 4 hours to drive down there, probably, for a 2-hour meeting and a 4-hour drive back. I'll just leave you with that. I appreciate sometimes you've got to meet face to face. I'm not saying this must always be done, but it does open it up. And as she made the observation to her boss was, well, we had the 2-hour meeting and I was actually going through my emails after that, the ones that I wouldn't have been doing whilst I was sat in a car. And the cost of a headset, 35 quid. Wow, what would the petrol or the train ticket cost? So these are the things. Okay, so in summation then, we've looked at everything from the assessment of the staff, assessment of the business, okay, and an assessment of the workplace environment that the staff member might work from home. We've then considered the whole kind of ethos, that thought experiment. Do you want to do it? Choose your outcomes, choose your direction, and then, because technology is part of the answer, what you got to do is speak to us. We'll tell you what can and can't be done. Okay, what is possible, what isn't possible. We can help with the assessments. That's the whole point. You know, we can check if someone's broadband's good enough. The department, DA Health and DSE, actually have a guideline on a workplace environment for people to what it should look like, how far away the screen should be. It's all freely available, so we can help on that journey. So I think that's kind of it. I've taken probably a little too much time in this occasion, but it is quite a large subject, and I knew it would take time. So does anyone want to either add to it, challenge me, ask any questions? Please feel free to do so.